I feel like Red Wings fans have been getting screwed by fate a little bit. Mostly because when it comes to the trade that a lot of Red Wings fans were surprised to see, but very pleasantly surprised at that, the Anthony Mantha trade, which I'm referring to, was so good. Although, with that being said, the full benefits as to what that trade would be able to bring for Detroit, I feel like they haven't been explored yet to the fullest. Now, that's easy to say, okay, of course, there are prospects involved, there are draft picks, you're not going to see those guys make NHL impacts right away. But I'm also talking about the player, the NHL roster player that was sent back to Detroit in that Anthony Mantha trade. Today we're talking about Detroit Red Wings forward Jakub Vrana, and what he has done so far in the winged wheeled sweater, and just how I feel his potential and what he could be for the Red Wings has really been held back over the past few months by the hockey gods themselves. So, if we go over to Vrana and take a look at the entire conversation that's bestowed upon him. 26 years old, 6 feet, 196. He's a left-handed shot, left wing, right wing player. He can play either wing position, but I do know a lot of Red Wings fans kind of particularly prefer him on the left because there he can play with Zadina, who will be on the right, and just having that Czech connection is a pretty great one. He's making $5.25 million this year. He's making $5.25 next year, as well as the year after that. His contract goes on till 2024, and with the way this guy has produced so far, this contract honestly could be seen as a huge, huge steal. Why is that? Well, let's go over as I'm recording this, it's Saturday, March 26th, 5:03 p.m. It's the first intermission between the Canucks and the Stars game. So right now, as I'm talking to you in the microphone, Jakub Vrana has only played 19 games in a Red Wing sweater, but in these 19 games, he has himself 17 total points and 13 goals. Oh boy. 13 goals and 4 assists in the span of under 20 games. That is absolutely phenomenal. And honestly, if you told me right away that when Vrana was traded over to Detroit, he would be this much of a goal scorer right off the bat, I don't really know if I would have believed you right there. Now, this is why I say the Red Wings fan base have kind of gotten screwed over by the hockey gods, because Vrana, in the very limited sample size he has had, has shown off extraordinarily well. It's just injuries and surgeries have really slowed him down, and in this first season of that 5.25 AAV contract, it's quite unfortunate to see the step back in games played that he had. Now, I know you can go out there and say for Vrana, okay, he's got 6 points in 8 games. At the time of me recording this audio, he's got 5 goals in 8 games. That is amazing. It does sound amazing at first glance, and then you realize that he had 2 multi-goal games, and then you realize that in the 8-game sample that Vrana had, he did not score goals in 5 of those, so it makes the 5 goals in 8 games seem a little less impressive, but still, getting 2 multi-goal games in the way that Vrana has, especially coming back from injury, is pretty impressive nonetheless. He started out his Red Wings 21-22 season with 3 goals in 2 games, might I remind you about that. So, for Vrana, he's a good goal scorer, and we've all kind of known this based off of what we saw last season when he got traded over here, when he got 8 goals in 11 games after the Mantha trade. It's kind of funny, though, because in the past few seasons for Jakub Vrana and his performance with the Washington Capitals, he always had more assists or just slightly more assists than goals. His career high was back in 2019-20, where he had 52 points in 69 total games played, 25 goals, 27 assists. That's a lot of goals in 69 games, a nice amount of games right there. And if you do the math over an 82-game season, let's do 52 divided by 69, multiplied out by 82. He was on pace for 62 points in his top season, and for goals, he was on pace for 30, which is not bad in the slightest. How is Vrana able to do so well when it comes to scoring goals, especially for the Red Wings? Well, to me, it's a lot more of that instinctual desire to get shots towards the goal and how quickly he's able to do it. When you watch Vrana do what he does, it's on the stick, off the stick, in a quickie. He's got such a fast release, and for some reason, with the Red Wings, it feels like positionally and instinctually, he's got a lot more willingness to just throw the puck towards the goal than he had, let's say, in previous seasons with Washington, just based off of how he's played. I mean, 3 shots on goal in back-to-back games against the Islanders and the Flyers. He had a 4-shot game against the Minnesota Wild where he had 2 goals. And so Vrana has been a shooter, and in fact, it's actually quite remarkable when you realize how effective his shooting has been. Here's a stat from Prashantier on Twitter that kind of just highlights how nuts this entire conversation is. Since entering the league in 2016-17, Jakub Vrana ranks second in 5v5 goals per 60 for a minimum of 2,000 minutes played or 2 seasons. The only player that is better than Jakub Vrana when it comes to 5v5 goals scored per 60 minutes with a minimum of 2,000 minutes is Auston Matthews. Vrana has the same 5v5 goals per 60 as former teammate Alex Ovechkin. He beats out David Pastrnak, he beats out Andrew Mangiapane, and by the nature of this list, he's beating out every other top-tier goal scorer in the NHL as well. Also, the secondary story to this tweet is that the gap between Matthews, who is first, and Vrana, who is second, is the same as the gap between Vrana, who is second, and Clayton Keller, who is 81st. So, yeah, Vrana to Ovechkin tied at 1.24, and then Pastrnak 1.18, Andrew Mangiapane, who is at 1.18 as well. Those are all great, but Auston Matthews being at a 1.64 is, yeah, that's mind-bogglingly good. I mean, yeah, he's a good goal scorer, so I don't think it's that surprising. But either way, Jakub Vrana is legitimately one of the top NHL goal scorers at 5v5 offense. And it kind of makes sense, you know, like Ovechkin, sure, while you don't want to go out there and say that Vrana is the same caliber of goal scorer as Alex Ovechkin, how many times has Ovi ripped that one goal on the power play from the one spot on the 1T? It happens like every other game, if not multiple times in a game, and so for Alex Ovechkin, he's got a heck of a lot more power play goals and makes this stat a bit more misleading when you see Jakub Vrana being right there, tied with him for goals. So, 5v5, Vrana's great. You love to see this guy go out there and whip the puck in the way that he can, and honestly, it's kind of a trend between all of these guys. To me, Pastrnak, Ovechkin, Vrana, and Matthews, of course, I'm not going to say that Vrana is the same player as these guys, but when it comes to how quickly they're able to get that release off, it certainly is noteworthy to the point that I could sort of understand why this list looks the way it does. Now, as for Andrew Mangiapane, this guy doesn't really score in the same way, I feel. He scores a lot more goals just by controlling it on the rush and then dangling by guys. He's just a pure combination of work ethic and pace and everything. It works really well for Mangiapane, but either way, this video is about Jakub Vrana. If this guy is able to go out there and consistently play within the Blashill system, top 6 minutes, you know, he's got to look at about, let's say, 18 to 21 minutes of time on ice per game, which he hasn't been given, by the way. This season, he's averaging 12.55, which is quite low for a top 6 forward. If you've got a Jakub Vrana going out there, getting more minutes, getting more ice time, getting more shots on goal, and consistently throwing pucks towards the goal in the way that he has had in the past, 6 years, if his 5v5 goals per 60 minutes number remains the same, you're going to be looking at a guy who's got probably the same amount of goals as these top players in the NHL. Like, that is if everything goes right? Of course, if you give Vrana more minutes and you give him more ice time, more of a role, it's not guaranteed he sticks around in this range of 1.24, tied with Ovi for 5v5 goals, but it is nice to think that that possibility does present itself, especially when you consider just how little ice time Vrana has had this season. Not just in terms of the per-game metrics, but the fact that he's only played, 9 games on the entire year. So for Jakub Vrana, I'm looking forward to seeing what this guy could do with a full 82-game season under his belt. The last time he played a full 82 was in 2018-19, where he had 47 points. But of course, playing on the Capitals in a third-line role is not really the same as playing for a top 6 Red Wing squad with Filip Zadina, who, hopefully if Zadina doesn't get traded. I saw the comments on the previous video. Some of you were saying, okay, maybe we think about it, maybe we probably shouldn't because he's still so young. Either way, though, you can let me know in the comments all your thoughts about Jakub Vrana, the goal-scoring ability he has, the chemistry he has with Filip Zadina, what you have seen out of him so far in the very limited sample over the past year or so. Assuming he plays 82 games next season, how well do you think he's going to be able to do? Does he get 30 goals? Does he get 35? Does he get 40? Does he max out at 25 instead? I don't want to put too many labels on it because small sample sizes can often lead to misleading results, but there hasn't really been too much over the past year to really stray us away from the idea that Vrana could be just a 30-goal guy who's yet to hit that 30-goal mark in his career, but either way, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think as well about him being considered in the same conversation as Matthews, Ovechkin, David Pastrnak, some of the best goal scorers in the NHL when it comes to just pure 5v5 goals per 60? I hope you enjoyed this video, Rosén, and Bye.